What's going on, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of the Wrestling Family Podcast. And before we speak to our special guest, I want to make you guys aware of two things. Unfortunately, the audio and video on my end of the podcast is kind of choppy here and there. It didn't affect our guest audio and video. Theirs is perfect, but for some reason, mine isn't that great. But I did take the necessary steps to resolve the issue, so I promise in the future we will not have these issues in the future podcasts, and I apologize in advance. And number two, make sure you go down to the description and click on every link provided to you by our special guest. Go to all their social media platforms and follow them. Go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. Support them in any way that you can, because that is the whole point of the Wrestling Family Podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is the first episode of the Wrestling Family Podcast. We have a special guest today, and her name is Mandy Nicole Sports. How you doing, Mandy?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. We're 2 days away from the Royal Rumble. Are you pretty excited about that?
I am. I have been scrolling through my Twitter timeline all day, like seeing all of the stuff people are posting that are there. I'm
Yeah.
just super excited. I don't know how I'm supposed to think at work the next 2 days because it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, same here. I got to get up early in the morning on Saturday and drive out to Indianapolis. So it's gonna be quite a ride to get there. So it's kind of exciting for myself as well. It'll be my first Royal Rumble I've ever been to, and I've always wanted to go to one since I was a kid. So this is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's
go ahead.
it's going to be good.
It's gonna be good. So before we get into the wrestling stuff, let's talk about you first. You posted something on Instagram. Now I was kind of concerned about you. I was a little worried about you, and it wasn't anything too crazy. Okay, so you posted a photo, and under it you had a caption about a couple of things about your personal life. One of those things being that you're married and that you're a mother, which is beautiful things. But the part that got me concerned, okay, and this is coming from a person who's a White Sox fan, who's a Blackhawks fan, who's a Chicago Wolves fan. I saw that you were a Chicago sports fan. That's one of the hardest things to do in America. Like, how
Yeah,
do you deal with that? That is
it is
crazy.
tough. Especially recently, like it is
Yes.
very tough. But yes, I am. I am a Cubs, Bulls, Blackhawks, Bears fan all around. And it has not
Wow.
been a good time for me the last few years, but I'm holding out for the
Yeah.
little centimeter of hope that I possibly have that something's going to change eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it's not for the weak, and I have respect for you for that, because every Chicago sports fan I've ever met in the past probably decade have watched a Chicago sports team and either got into a fight with someone or broke up with their girlfriend after a game or something with Chicago Bears with a double doink or anything like that. It's always been really crazy. So my question for you is, out of all the teams available in professional sports, why did you choose paint? Why
Well,
was that the option?
it just kind of was there for me. No, so I am originally from Kentucky. We don't have any professional teams there. So like
Right, right.
in Kentucky, you're like Tennessee, Indiana, Chicago, or like St. Louis area was used to be the Rams, which is your team. Now they're LA,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so I just kind of gravitated. I've always been a Michael Jordan fan. And so I just kind of gravitated.
Oh,
And then my husband's a Chicago fan because his family grew up around the area. And so we just kind of gravitated towards that. And I've been a
oh.
fan for a while now. It's not easy. But yeah, it's we hang in there though. We don't give up on our team even when they are horrible.
Yeah, that's all you can do. And I did notice too that you are a Crimson Tide fan as
Oh
well.
God, yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed about a lot of Chicago sports fans is that we have a ton of Chicago teams that we like, but there's always that one team out of all the categories that's from somewhere else that we're a big fan of. So I guess that's in a way for us to balance it out without going crazy, because we need at
Yeah.
least one of those teams winning.
I get the
So
success on
yeah.
the Alabama side, so I can kind of just deal with the Chicago side.
So now you understand why I'm an LA
Yeah.
Rams fan and then everything goes to Chicago. So we're smart. We figure it out here. Okay. See, that's Chicago thinking right there. And did you move to Chicago
No, we
from
actually moved to
Kentucky? And how long were you in
Wisconsin.
Kentucky?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
So I'm in the Wisconsin area now. We've been here for, oh my gosh, it's been almost 10 years now.
Wow. So that explains why you were at the SmackDown show at the Pfizer.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Yep. It's
same
super
here.
close. Like, I don't,
Um, I,
maybe an hour and a half away.
I used to live in Chicago and I moved to Wisconsin about probably 4 years ago. So it's a lot cheaper here. Like in Chicago, gas is like, I don't know, $5,000 a gallon or something like that. So out here, it's way cheaper. Groceries, everything. It's a lot quieter too. So I absolutely love it out here. And that begs this question: what made you a wrestling fan?
So I have been watching wrestling since I was a kid with my dad. Him and his brothers all used to get together and watch the pay-per-views. Now they're PLEs. That's
Yeah,
even shifted.
yeah,
But they used to get together and watch them all. You used to have to pay for them, which we still kind of do, I guess, with the streaming. But you used to have
yeah.
to pay for the pay-per-view, and so one person would pay, and we would all just get together and watch it. So I kind of developed watching it through him and always followed it. And then I kind of fell off a little bit just in high school and a little bit in college, just with busy life. I wasn't home as much to watch every single night, but I still kept up with it here and there. And then
Mhm.
around probably 2019 or 2020, I picked it back up again and have been watching ever since. And then I even like went back with Peacock and watched like the stuff that I missed to kind of catch up and fill in all the gaps. And so I've always been interested in wrestling and had that kind of like thing in me just because I watched it with my dad so much.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. And does anyone else in your family watch it? Like your husband
He will
or
watch it with
kids or
me.
anyone
He
else?
doesn't understand it. I
Okay.
mean, not that he doesn't understand it, I guess. He just doesn't enjoy it to the extent that I do, but he'll watch it with me. He's not afraid to watch it with me.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's great. That's just like my girlfriend. She's the same way. She doesn't watch wrestling. She doesn't understand anything. She has nicknames for wrestling that's not really their names. Like she calls Cody Rhodes Ice. I don't know
It's
why
the
she calls
hair.
him that, but it's the hair, right? Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense. And I think it's like an even exchange because like I watch K drama with her. Like K drama shows on Netflix with her, and that's my sacrifice. Which I'm not gonna lie, there's some K drama shows out there that are pretty good. I tried to sneak in and watch an episode without her, but I don't want to go that route because that'll get me in trouble.
Yeah.
But on her end, she watches wrestling with me, so we kind of do that kind of exchange. So, and it's very interesting because as of lately, this is probably a new thing in the past 15 years that I've noticed more women come out and talk about, being huge fans of wrestling and not just being fans, but going into depth about their love for wrestling. For me growing up, wrestling was always associated with the boys. It was always with rough housing and the guys, and the girls normally would just talk about like Polly Pockets or Easy Bake Ovens or anything like that. So is it kind of different for you as far as being a woman as a wrestling fan? I would like to hear your perspective on
I
that.
will agree. I think like just going from like when I started watching and kind of growing up, it was more so a male like dominate. Like you just saw more males talking about it. And not saying that there
Right.
weren't female fans cuz obviously there were, but you just saw more males talking about it. And then about when I first discovered like the wrestling content per se was about a year ago, and I was like I discovered it by
Wow.
seeing all of these females on TikTok, and I was like, this is cool. Like this to me, like this was never there. Like I said, you always saw the males talking about it. And so it's really cool to see the females now talk about it. And I mean, a lot of them are super smart and know what they're talking about. And it's just really, really cool to have more so of that, like even numbers now. I think it's a lot of fun, and it gives me a lot of people to relate to too and talk with. And I've met, not personally, but through the internet, a lot of good fun people through it, and I just love it. I think it's great.
Right. So starting with content creation, did that make you want to go deeper into understanding things about pro wrestling? Or were you always this fan? Because I know you said that you went back on Peacock and went back to watch older things that you missed out on. So did becoming a content creator, did that influence you to kind of go further into like the history of wrestling? Or were you always the person that wanted to know more about
No,
this?
I would say when I picked it back up, I was that person. Like I just wanted to know all the storylines, what was going on, especially with like my favorite characters. And
Mhm.
so I did that, and then I just kind of stumbled across it one day. Like me and my husband, before I stumbled across the content creation part of it, we would watch it on Mondays and Fridays, and watch the PLEs and everything. And then I stumbled across the
Wow.
content, and I was like, this is actually a thing that like I could do. Like I'm very interested in this, and it's obviously a market of people. So like I have always been like in that in-depth person. Like when I'm a big storyline person, I'm gonna love a character more if they have a good storyline behind them. So I've always loved that like storyline aspect and kind of dove into that.
Right. And I'm gonna say it's a beautiful thing because as you said, you have a lot of women who came out, talking about wrestling and going in depth, especially on TikTok. A lot of them I discovered on TikTok. I was always anti TikTok for a little bit, but once I got on there, I met, or not met in person, but I seen a lot of people like yourself and like the Film Slam podcast and all these other people where you see these different women from different backgrounds having these different point of views about a common love, which is pro wrestling. So when I see you say, hey, I love Jey Uso, he needs to win the championship, or someone else saying the opposite, it's always an interesting thing to see. So as far as that goes, I think I already know the answer to this. Who's your favorite wrestler and who's your most hated wrestler?
So I don't know if you saw my last TikTok, well, my TikTok video from yesterday, but I got a lot of heat from saying that I didn't like Gunther.
I saw that one.
And
Yeah.
I made some people mad, but I
Really?
would say like my current, yeah, they were like, no, like this is not it. My current like non-favorite wrestler is probably Gunther because I just don't feel that connection with his character like I do everybody else.
Okay.
And I may get heat again on here saying it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But of course, my favorite right now is Jey Uso. I just love what he has done since he's kind of broken away from the bloodline and then come back to the bloodline too. He's just really made a huge name for himself. And I always loved the Usos as a tag team. So this is not like a new thing. Like I've always loved the Usos, but just seeing him break apart, and I hope that Jimmy can have the same thing this year. I know he kind of got hurt, so he kind of got his singles run taken from him. So I just hope that they both have success. But just what Jey has done is incredible.
Right. And was it the Yeet as well that enhanced that love for Jey Uso as a wrestler? Did
Absolutely.
that add to that as well?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, I like storylines as well. And that bloodline storyline have made a lot of people fans of wrestlers they probably would never have thought about. Whether we're talking about Sami Zayn. A lot of people didn't really, weren't big fans of Sami Zayn unless you were big on the in-ring stuff that he did in the past, like in NXT and things like that. But as far as stories, people started loving him. Really weren't really big fans Roman Reigns. This made them fans hit. So this bloodline for a lot of people in here. Now, as far as talking about your enemy, as far as Gunther, what about him, kind of irks you? What is the ick about Gunther when it comes to you?
So I think Gunther is great in the ring. I think he is a great in-ring wrestler, and I'm not taking that away from him at all because I have a lot of respect for him in the ring. I want a character change for him.
Right.
I feel like he's been in this same character for so long now. I mean, we've seen him, with Imperium, and then now there's not so much of that Imperium anymore, but he's still kind of stuck in that character.
Yeah.
And so I just want him to change it up. I think he just needs to like a good shake and just change his character up. And then I think I would like him a little more. I just feel like he's been stuck in the same character and it's not evolving as much.
Yeah, and I agree. And they tried to change it up a little bit when they tried to make him they kind of made him have an identity crisis where he's asking Ludwig, like, hey, am I pretty? Like, he was just asking him personal
Yeah.
questions, like, am I still that guy that I was before? And it was kind of awkward when they did that story because they kind of went into it and then they came right back out of it like it never happened. So it was like, where were you kind of going with this? And I'm like you, I kind of wanted them to do a character change because it's not going to work to copy and paste what he did with the IC title with the World Heavyweight Championship and expect the same success, because it's going to drag out too long and then people are going to get tired of it. So now they're kind of trapped in a situation of where they don't know what to do with this guy. So I thought that your issue with Gunther was because he beat Jey Uso at main event, but I guess it's deeper than that.
It is deeper. I mean, I had this problem beforehand. Now, him beating Jay did kind of make me a little even more mad at him, but I just feel like you said,
Right.
they kind of teased this whole like confidence issue with him, and I feel like they could really have played into that a lot more and give him that character change that we
Absolutely.
needed. and it just didn't get there. And I was the same way. I love both Liv and Rhea, but I was the same way with their storyline. I was ready for it to end. I was like, Raw on Netflix has to be the end because you've drugged this out so long now that nothing is evolving from it.
Mhm.
And I'm just that way with Gunther. Like, I want them to evolve and make him even better. And I really think that I have some theories for what's going to happen with this whole Jey Uso thing, but I think
Okay.
that honestly, like with if Jey would have won on Saturday night and Gunther would have lost that title, I think it would have been good for both of them because Gunther could have had that like kind of culture shock, like, oh, like maybe I'm not as good, like I underestimated Jey, and then like really changed that character. So I was a little disappointed that Jey didn't win, but I just want more from Gunther. I feel like he is capable of more, it's just not there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I personally didn't think Jey Uso was gonna win a main event, but if he did, I would have been excited for people like yourself and all the other people on TikTok who are crazy about Jey Uso. I would have just been happy for you guys. But I agree with you because of the fact it feels like they don't know what to do. And I think that's a worse situation to be in when the person you don't know what to do with is holding a title. And the person you know what to do with, who is super over, as in Jey Uso, is in need of a title. So that would have been a good, title change there at main event. And especially since main event is known as a show where nothing happens there, that would have been a huge shock. And then most people would have been like, okay, the World Heavyweight Championship could change on main event. I might want to watch the next one. I might want to go to the next one because anything could possibly happen there. And this is another title match that Jey Uso has lost. So now I'm sure most of the Jey Uso fans are like, okay, how many times are we going to watch this guy lose over and over again? What are you guys going to actually pull the trigger? He's over. Please don't let this escape. Please don't let this, when this Yeet thing dies off, you don't give him a title. It's going to be too late. It's going to be too late, you know? So I don't know if you feel that way about it, but it just seems to be like, that Jey Uso fans are kind of tired at this point of WWE doing this.
Well, I think
But
my first thing is with the Saturday night main event, like you said, like nothing major has happened at them, and so I really kind of feel like at this
yeah,
point they're like a glorified live show. So I do think the next one,
yeah,
whenever it is, they need to do something major. So I agree with you there. I think
mhm,
that they should absolutely do something major because otherwise it's just kind of like, why are we watching this?
mhm,
Nothing is happening. There's more happening on Raw and Netflix than there is Saturday night main event. But on the whole Jey Uso thing, I just really feel like with him being so over, like he just needs to hold a title longer than what he did. I mean, he won against Braun Breaker and had that title, but he only had it for a few weeks, and then they gave it back to Braun. And Braun has not really done anything with it now. I mean, he had a really good match with Sheamus and Ludwig.
yeah,
We've seen him a couple times, but we haven't seen a great run. And I feel like if you're going to take a title from a guy that's so over like Jey is, you got to, whoever's holding that title has to have like a major run, and they haven't done it. And so I do feel like they have just kind of failed in a couple places. And I'm hoping soon, I'm trying to trust Triple H because I know that he does have that creative storyline brain.
yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, like I need to see these titles do more.
No, yeah, I agree. And now that you mentioned that, it is like that on Monday Night Raw. I do trust Triple H like you do. I call him the slow cooker booker. You got to kind of wait for him to cook everything, let all the juices get in, and it come out to like a great meal at the end of the day. But there's some situations that's kind of weird. That's like, okay, where exactly are you going with this? Because both of our champions on Raw, our singles champions, they're both in the same spot. They seem to just be stuck in this personality, and they've been holding the title. Both have either one have taken the title from Jey Uso, another one has beaten them. And even outside of Jey Uso, both your champions have nothing really going on for them. They're not really, elevating that title or really elevating anyone around them. They're just having these random matches and holding the titles just because they look like champions. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And I agree with you on the Liv Morgan thing as well. So as far as the Royal Rumbles, since that's going to be an exciting weekend, it's one of my favorite PLEs. So who are you banking to win the men's and women's Royal Rumble?
So I actually dropped my men's predictions today on my YouTube channel. My women are going tomorrow, but I think for women, I don't think it's going to be a surprise at all. I think Charlotte's going to win. I think
Yeah,
they're banking on Charlotte versus Tiffy at WrestleMania. They want
yeah,
Charlotte to hold a title. I mean, and I mean, rightfully so. She's been in the business for a while. I don't agree with it necessarily because I like Charlotte, but
Yeah.
there's so much talent on the roster now that I feel like it's just not her Royal Rumble time. But I feel like she's gonna win. I absolutely think she's gonna win. And I think for the men's, I've gone back and forth numerous times, and I don't know if it's like this the hope in me or what it is, but I am hoping that Jay might win and get a rematch with Gunther at WrestleMania. But if he doesn't, I
Yeah.
think CM Punk's gonna win. I think it's definitely between those two. But the little hope in me is still there.
And that's the thing, like I love about like wrestling fans like yourself and everyone else that's crazy about Jey Uso is like you guys are like, this is my favorite wrestler. I want them to win every single time. I don't have to give you a reason why. I just want that. That's it. There's no deeper, thoughts about scientific reasonings or storyline reasonings for it. I want this one guy to win, and that's it. That's the story. That's the end of it. And I like that about you guys. And speaking of Charlotte Flair, I 100% agree with you on that. Just because of the simple fact that they know people don't want Charlotte to win this. So to give her the highest amount of heel heat, what do? Bring her back. The first thing she does is win the Rumble, get a WrestleMania match. And I think they want to put as much heel heat on her as possible so many people can, start to love Tiffany Stratton more as a babyface. Mania will great match out of that. And although I'm like you, I don't want to see that happen. I would rather see somebody like Io Sky or something. But even though it's not a great decision, the match we get out of it at WrestleMania, seeing what Charlotte did against Rhea Ripley, and even Becky Lynch at what was it called, Evolution pay-per-view, like so many different Charlotte matches. It's going to be a tremendous match. So you're still holding out hope on Jey Uso winning. Like you really believe that's going to happen, or are you just hoping?
I'm writing the storyline in my head, I'm pretending I'm a WWE writer, and that's my storyline. He's gonna win, and he's gonna get redemption at
Yeah.
WrestleMania against Gunther. But I think he could. I don't think it's like far fetched. I do kind of
No, it's not.
though in my mind think maybe CM Punk will. I feel like it's kind of long overdue since he returned, and but my problem with CM Punk winning is I don't know who he faces for the title. I mean, I feel like it has to be Cody because I don't feel like Gunther and CM Punk makes sense. I feel like that's super random. And I don't know if like Cody and CM Punk really makes sense at this point. Eventually it would,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it does now. So I'm still holding out hope just because Jey Uso makes a little more sense.
Yeah, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, this year with the Royal Rumble is so stacked. It could be literally anybody winning that, and they could find a way to make it make sense. There's so many storylines and loose ends that would make sense with anyone versus Cody or anyone versus Gunther. And I was kind of thinking that CM Punk would win, but the only problem with that is kind of what you said. But I'm sure they kind of want to move towards CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. So if CM Punk wins the Rumble, how are you going to get that match? So I feel like that Seth is either going to screw Punk over, or Punk's going to screw Seth over, or they're both going to happen to take them over the edge, so then they can have that feud match. And it would be cool to get him that first main event that he's never gotten in his career at WrestleMania. But like you said, I can't think of a real reason to do that in this situation. So it's really hard to figure out who's going to win it. Now, Jey Uso wins it, I'll be excited for you. You'll be the first person I'll message like, "Hey, it happened." I'm happy for you guys. That'll be a great moment. So, as far as what are some surprise entrants you would go crazy over if they show up at the Royal Rumble?
AJ Lee.
Okay, absolutely.
Like, period. I loved AJ
That's
Lee.
it. That's the only person.
Oh my gosh, if she shows up, I will lose my mind.
Yeah.
She was one of my favorites growing up. I loved watching her, and I just like I don't know if you saw, but like Jackie and CM Punk's little interview thing where he's like,
I saw that.
she's like, "Who's gonna show up at the women's?" And he was like, "Well, I would tell you, but I would be in trouble." And I'm like, CM Punk, if you are like teasing me and she's not gonna show up, I'm gonna like punch you myself. Like
Yeah. Come on,
I
Sam.
love AJ Lee and the whole like Divas title division time. I love her.
Mhm.
I think that would be great. Another person that I'm really ready to see back is Randy Orton. So I'm hoping we get to see him
Okay.
Saturday. I'm hoping he's healthy and
Mhm.
good and we get to see him. But I would definitely lose my mind if AJ Lee showed up.
Okay. So is AJ and Randy, those are the two, or
Yeah,
is there
those are
more
probably
than
my
that? It's
top
just
2
those
that
two.
I'm really ready to see back.
Okay. That's perfect. I think everybody is going to go crazy if AJ Lee, even myself, I'll go crazy. I'm going to sing, light it up, with my whole soul. If she shows up, I'm going to be a whole different person. If she shows up, that would be crazy. And I think it's her. I would love to see the team. I would love to see whether it be one coming up in another, of them using one number as a team. I feel like there's been something missing since they've been gone. Their comedic element they bring to the WWE universe. But for sure, AJ Lee is the first person I think of when it comes to that. I think it's going to be a great Royal Rumble. It's going to be very, very exciting. So, do you have any plans of going to any other events anytime soon as far as WWE?
Yeah, I've been watching the schedule pretty closely. I know they're coming back to Chicago in April, so I've been looking at that one. But I want to go back. I want to go to as many as possible, whatever I can make it to, whatever I can get close to. I do know SummerSlam is in Minnesota next year. So that one is already marked on my calendar. But yeah, they kind of slowly release the schedule. So I don't know what's coming up, but I'm definitely going to make it to whatever I can, because we went to Friday Night SmackDown and had so much fun. And I can't wait to just go to more. Like I said, I'm having like the biggest FOMO from seeing everybody's Indianapolis stuff. And then when you go, I'm going to have even more big like FOMO. I'm so disappointed I'm not there. I keep seeing everybody like posting it and I'm like, I've been there. Why can't I be there now?
But you know what? Did you hear about the rumors? And these are just rumors that they're saying that Money in the Bank this year may be at Pfizer.
Please?
That Milwaukee has been bidding for that to be the place.
I would be.
So I'm hoping that it's going to be there.
I'm buying tickets that day, like that day.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's in our backyard. So like, what's the excuse at this point? You don't have to fly anywhere, so it's perfect. It's like right there. It sucks for me because I would have just kept the money from Royal Rumble and used it for the Pfizer if they go to Money in the Bank. But you know what? I'm gonna try to go to as many as possible. Did you have plans going to like WrestleMania or anything?
So
no?
we were actually originally going out to Vegas during WrestleMania week. We had the trip scheduled and everything, and then tickets dropped and they were absolutely insane. And we were still going to go out to Vegas. But then we were like spending 9 days in Las Vegas. And I was like, what are we going to do for 9 days in Las Vegas if we don't go to this show? Like, what is that? Like, you can only gamble so much, let's be honest.
Right.
And so we ended up canceling and we're going to take a different trip. But I'm still holding out hope that soon we'll get to a WrestleMania.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I was kind of looking at the ticket prices. We were planning on going out to Vegas for that same reason, and then we were just like, yeah, if we're gonna be there like for 6-7 days, what else are we gonna do outside of WrestleMania? Like you said, we only can gamble so much. So are you guys like really, just for like events for like
we
wrestling?
love to travel.
Okay.
No, we love to travel. I mean, one of my goals is like to go to one of our goals, I should say, is to go to like every baseball stadium. We would love to do that. So no, we love to travel. We love to see new places. We are actually going to go to California instead of Vegas now. We're going to go to California and spend a week out there. And so no, we love to travel. The wrestling just adds like an extra component.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was going to be our goal too. We were going to go to every football stadium because we did a tour of SoFi where the Rams play. And ever since then, I was like, okay, I got to go to every stadium that I can go to, because I took my brother to the AT&T Stadium, and we did a tour of that one. So when you look at the architecture and the story behind everything, is so interesting on how and why they built these things. So now I'm like you guys. I'm like, I got to go to every single stadium as much as possible and take advantage of these moments. It's a very, very, very exciting. But yeah, so we went over Royal Rumble. So do you have any early predictions for WrestleMania? As far as what, even if it's not like the perfect setup, just what you want to see there, what do you think is going to happen there, what kind of matches you would like to see?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think we're for sure going to get Rock and Roman. That's been on the cards for a little while now, and The Rock came to Raw on Netflix and played his little nice guy act, but I don't believe it at all. I think he's still the final boss.
No,
I think he's still the final boss in there. And so I think we're definitely going to get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. I think that we are for sure getting Tiffany and Charlotte. I went blank. We're definitely getting
Yeah.
Tiffany and
No, it's all right.
Charlotte, for sure. Like that one, they might as well just already announce because we know that that's happening. I will be interested
Mhm.
to see what happens with the mid cards, honestly, like the IC and the US
Yes.
championship. I'll be interested in those, both men and women, because I feel like those are the ones that really kind of could make a big statement at WrestleMania because, well, for one, the women's side is new. We haven't had those titles until recently, and so I feel like they could make a huge
Right.
statement with the storyline and the feud there. But I also think on the men's side they could as well.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And the interesting thing is, I was wondering if Roman Reigns is kind of a dark horse, which sounds crazy because it's Roman Reigns. Okay, to think of him as being a dark horse winner for Royal Rumble, it just makes you wonder if he does win that. Would we get Cody versus Roman 3, or could that just be a placeholder for The Rock to get inserted into it for a triple threat
I'll be
for that title?
I'll be honest
So I'm
with
still
you.
kind of wondering if that's going to
I
happen.
don't want Cody and Roman again. I'm kind of over that. Like
You don't?
I'm kind of over that.
Okay.
I already had that little like I'm a Roman fan as well, and so when Cody won, like I was happy
Right.
for him, but it was a little bittersweet. So we've already had that. We've already been there. I don't really
Hmm.
want that. What I do think could potentially happen tomorrow night is CM Punk cashes in his little favor that Paul Heyman owes him.
Oh, so
I would
what do you
not
think
put
that
it
is?
I would not put it past Punk to cash in his favor and for Paul Heyman to somehow interfere so Punk can win if it comes down to those two.
At
Because
Royal
Punk
Rumble?
Yeah, because Punk said at
Wow, I
his
never thought about
so
that.
he could get his WrestleMania moment. Because Punk had just recently said in an interview that his favor might be something that Paul doesn't wanna do, and what is the one thing that Paul doesn't wanna do? Turn on his tribal chief.
Wow, I never thought about that. Wow, how did you? Did you? How did you come up with this?
I
That's
think about
amazing.
this stuff a
Where'd you
lot.
come up with this? Me too. I thought I was the only one. I'm at work, like thinking about storylines and everything. Like I'm part of the creative team.
Yeah.
like, like I, I never thought about that a second. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, doesn't it make
Wow, that can
sense
actually
though?
be what it is. It does. So do you think he's gonna physically get involved? Like Paul Heyman's
I
gonna
think he
like get in the Royal
could.
Rumble and German suplex
I
Roman?
think if CM Punk caught in that favor, he possibly could. I mean, I will be honest with you.
Wow,
I know that Paul is committed to Roman, but CM Punk was his boy way before Roman. And Punk helped
he
him out.
was. He
And if
was.
Punk wants that WrestleMania match, he might do it.
And he did say when he first came back, he said he was my wise man first.
Yep.
So, and he kept calling Paul Heyman his friend. Wow.
And when
My mind,
when
my
Roman
mind
said
is
he's
blown.
my wise man, Punk said, "We'll see."
You're right. Steve, do you watch like crime stuff?
I do.
Like because the type okay, so that explains. So okay, we would relate on that because you pay attention to like the small
Yes.
things and just come together with a story. Okay, I'm the same. We watch a lot of like crime, murder mysteries and stuff like that. So I knew that's like a murder mystery mind because normal
Yeah.
people don't think like that. And I mean, normal as in a good thing. But wow, I never thought of. See, in my mind, I thought that maybe the favor and yours is way better than mine. See, you should be a part of the creative team, not me. But I thought that the favor would be maybe it would be something sentimental, like, hey, if I get my first WrestleMania main event, maybe Paul Heyman can come out there with me. But now that you mentioned that, wow. So it changes everything. It makes so much sense. Wow.
It's something to think about. I'm telling you, it's something
It
to
is
think
something
about
to think about.
because I wouldn't put it past and we've seen Paul before kind of be shaky. I mean, with the whole Roman and Brock thing, I mean,
Oh
he was
yeah.
back and forth. So it's not
Yeah.
anything that I would put past Paul or Punk at this point.
See, now I'm blown away. And I got after this is over, I gotta go sit down and think, and I gotta think about everything. I gotta erase everything I thought about in regards to that, and
Draw a
just
map.
yeah, just draw a map. You know, like in the movies where they put the sticky notes with the strings all over it to figure out the murder and stuff. I got I gotta figure that out. Wow, that's amazing. So, for my last question, who do you think attacked Jade Cargill?
So I had a whole list of suspects when this first went down. I thought the
Wow.
most sense was Charlotte because I thought it was a good way to bring her back heel. And we
Okay.
saw them when Jade first debuted on the roster kind of have that face to face. But now Jade keeps dropping little hints, and I think that it was either Bianca or Naomi.
Mhm.
And I'm really leaning more towards Bianca because I feel like Naomi is
Oh.
the obvious choice of the two.
Oh, see, that's the criminal investigator mind. If it's too
It is.
obvious, it can't be that person, right? So,
Right.
okay, because I was banking on Naomi the entire time because she seemed to be the innocent person, and she's due for a heel turn at some point. So, what perfect way is there to do it this? But what you're saying, Bianca, and what you've mentioned it, or maybe it could be both of them. Maybe they're working together because I feel like it's really strange that they're coming out, they're matching together,
Mhm.
they're glowing, they're smiling. But no one mentioned the fact that their friend almost died on top of a car a couple months ago on SmackDown. No one has brought it up ever again. So
Yep.
it's wow, yeah, that could be true. Hopefully, Jay does show up at the Royal Rumble and we continue that story because I feel like the longer they stretch it out, it'll get less interesting. But like yourself, I'm into like murder mysteries and who did it stories. So I'm like, please, this is like probably one of the
Yeah.
most interesting things you guys got going on SmackDown. So can we please go back to that? Wow,
So I
wow.
definitely think she's returning on Saturday, but I think she's going to eliminate
You think
both of
so?
them and
Okay,
keep us guessing. I think she's going to eliminate
keep us guessing.
Yeah,
Really?
I think she's going to eliminate both of them and keep us guessing. But I think so
Oh,
I
okay,
will tell you why I'm going with Bianca because I think Bianca should turn
okay.
heel. I really want to see a heel Bianca. Now, I will say that I think Naomi helped her or will help her. I think Naomi will stick with her. But I feel
Mhm.
like we are due for a Jade Bianca feud because if you remember at the last Royal Rumble, they kind of faced off in the ring and we got that little glimpse
Yeah.
of it. So, what better way to come full circle and have it be revealed that Bianca's the one that attacked her because she is like the person and Jade was kind of stealing her spotlight.
And we do remember on Monday Night Raw, before they had that tag team title match between Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, Liv kept saying, "Hey, Jade, you're gonna find out when she stabs you in the back," and that's when Bianca slapped her in the face. And it's like, okay, what would make somebody slap somebody in the face that bad? Either they're offended or they're telling the truth,
Yep.
and there could be some truth behind that. And they had that standoff in that multi-women, I think it was a battle
Yeah.
royal. They had that standoff in the middle of the ring. So yeah, that could definitely and Bianca Belair was a heel in NXT, but I think now making her a heel now will be a interesting way to go because
Mhm.
I think as a character and as a wrestler in the ring, she's way better. I just thought they were worried about the kids who love Bianca Belair if they want to see her as a bad guy, kind of like John Cena. But you're right. I think Bianca Belair will make a fantastic heel. Naomi, so you think Naomi's and just for a little bit more, what do you think Naomi's role in this entire thing? Do you think she's just like a heel, or you think she's being manipulated by Bianca? Like, hey, if you want to be a tag team champion, you got to do what I say.
I think Naomi is the scapegoat. I think Naomi is the one
Oh,
that's drawing the attention to take it away from Bianca. But I think what's ultimately going to happen is she's going to turn heel with her. I think she's going to turn
oh,
heel with her. I
mhm.
think that they're going to kind of work together. But I do think she's like the scapegoat. You always have that like obvious suspect. You know, anytime like a significant other's murdered, they're like the spouse did it. I feel like that's what Naomi is
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this case. Like she is that scapegoat to take the attention off of the real suspect.
Oh, see, that's that thinking again. Wow. Okay. Okay. It's always kind of weird too, and I know it's wrestling, so some part of my brain when I'm like watching movies about crime and things like that, I'm like, okay, WWE, you guys got security cameras back there. You guys could just go in the room and find out who did this. But I get with the world of wrestling, you kind of want to keep people on their feet and keep the storyline going. Okay. Yeah, that was some great stuff. So all right, so thank you again for joining me. I got some thinking to do with this whole Paul Heyman thing. Now I'm just very intrigued. I think I'm gonna go to sleep at like 2 o'clock in the morning because like it's a lot to take in with your theory with the whole thing. It's crazy. That's a crazy thing to think about. So thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it. This is my first ever time doing this. What's your social media? What's your links to everything? Let them know where they can follow you or where they can, watch your content.
Yep. So my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channel is all Mandy Nicole Sports. And then my X or Twitter, however you say it, is just Mandy Nicole with an underscore.
Mandy Nicole with the underscore.
Yep.
You guys heard it. Go ahead and follow her. She makes great content, great TikToks, great Instagram content, all of it. She does a great job. And if you want to hear more of these theories, one of the best theories I've heard so far as Paul Holman, you got more on her channel. She got a lot more content there. She does a great job there, guys. So just support her. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me on this. I appreciate you. So everybody's watching. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.